Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Well, we've sort of engineered ourselves into our own vulnerability. We've become sort of the victims of our own sophistication. For years, for decades, we've hardened our military, certain critical defense assets, against EMP. In fact, we've spent what would be ultimately now probably into the billions of dollars hardening our nuclear triad, our missile defense capability, because we know that EMP is a reality in nuclear exchange, or anytime nuclear warheads detonate, they create some type of EMP. If it's high in the atmosphere, high altitude, then it can create something that's more far-reaching and more dangerous. But at the same time, our grid is completely unprotected.
Those are frightening words, folks. And on Friday we talked to General Michael Hayden about the grid, and he's ringing the alarm. And boy, when it comes from the former head of the CIA and NSA, you listen, and you should be listening to Congressman Trent who just spoke there, member of the House Armed Services Committee and House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, great to talk to you, sir.
Steve, it's wonderful to be with you, and I really mean that.
Well, I got to tell you, I can't think of anything more important to talk about. I mean, I do 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I have, something 3-4 guests an hour and a panel, and I can't think of anything more important to talk about. And I got to tell you, ever since I heard you speak about this at the Women's Republican Club here in New York a few weeks back, I mean, I'm kind of obsessed with it. This is a real danger to the survival of your kids and my kids and you and me in this country.
Well, it really is. And Steve, my background is engineering, so I want you to know my feet are real flat. I don't get all excited over something that is fantasy. In fact, I still remember, I hate to even bring it up on the air, but I remember years ago, when they had the Y2K scare.
Yeah.
I was one of the folks that said, I'm not concerned about that because we change operating systems all the time. We go from Unix to Windows to every kind of a conceivable system, and we're going to be able to ride around that problem. And then the ability to be able to multiply that in a ubiquitous fashion is certainly within our reach. And I was considered a village atheist because I didn't think that Y2K was a big deal. The last time I got really concerned about some sort of major potential crisis, I suppose maybe twofold. One was back in the days when we just first discovered the AIDS virus. I thought this thing is going to be more serious than anybody thinks. At the time, the National Academy of Sciences said it was not a big issue at all. And, of course, they changed their mind. And then, of course, when the Iranians began to enrich uranium, I got excited. And I still am very concerned about that. But I will tell you that the asymmetric capability that the EMP would represent to an enemy like Iran really does concern me very significantly, because across history, anytime a country had a specific vulnerability and an enemy that was committed to exploit it, that usually was tried. And this is one of those things where we might not get a do-over.
And you, as you explained, for people like me who are laymen, all Iran has to do is take a crude nuclear missile or weapon, launch it in the middle of the sea, straight up, and it could knock out our power grid with an EMP attack. Correct?
Yes, that's a potential scenario. They call it the Scud in the Tub scenario. Now, it's really just a crude missile. The warhead would have to be fairly advanced, but that's not something that's out of the realm of consideration at all.
All right, two questions for you, Congressman. One, so am I right in remembering what you said and everything that I've read about the testimony at the hearing and all that? I mean, this could result, God forbid, in a worst case, obviously no electricity, no power, no gas, no food, no anything. Americans will die by the millions if this goes on for an extended period of time. It's not only EMP. We know the security at our power facilities is lax or non-existent. It could be done with terrorist attacks, cyber attacks. So is the doomsday scenario something that is what concerns you?
Well, the worst case scenario does concern me profoundly. Those are the scenarios you just mentioned came essentially right out of the executive summary of the EMP Commission report. And that's the first time I became very concerned about this, is when the EMP Commission testified before the Armed Services Committee, of which I'm now a senior member. And, we've known about EMP for a long time. I mean, it's almost in some circles considered a Cold War relic, because the Soviets had a big 25 megaton EMP weapon that they intended to use as a potential laydown for any sort of nuclear exchange. And the difference then was that we had a grid that was far more impervious to that. So they had this huge weapon. This is 25 megatons. Now, we deal in kilotons today primarily. And the EMP phenomena is not a new one. We've known about it ever since we first tested nuclear weapons.
Not to interrupt you, but because of time here, and it's such a complicated issue, but really I want to cut to the chase here. 2 questions. We have about 2.5 minutes. Why has this not been fixed, and what will it take to get it fixed?
Well, the military has responded effectively. The military has done what they had to do to protect their capability, and I have nothing but plaudits and kudos to the military. Unfortunately, we have a regulatory protocol, Section 215 it's called, whereby the Federal Energy and Regulatory Commission has almost no ability to create any sort of a national standard or hardware-based solution requirement on our civilian grid. We have so many different civilian grid operators that it's chaos, and it has to change because it's a national security question of the first magnitude.
Is it too late, or can this still be?
No, we never know when it's too late. I mean, within 3 years, I believe that we could, and very reasonably cost, something that would add no more than 25 cents a year to the average ratepayer, we could put neutral phase blocking and other types of tube compensators.
So what's blocking that? Does it take an act of Congress? And if so, why the heck hasn't at least the House passed this?
Well, the House has passed.
Okay.
The House passed the Grid Act, but now let me suggest to you that wasn't enough. Now we've got the SHIELD Act and the Critical Infrastructure Protection Act. That was heard last week at SIPA, we call it, and I think that's going to pass. It's not enough. The answer to this problem, to your listeners and to you, we have to pass the SHIELD Act.
All right. First of all, the Grid Act dead in the Senate right now, and the SHIELD Act, if it passes, dead in the Senate?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the SHIELD Act is going to be the toughest because the industry is going to resist that. Now, you understand, I'm a conservative. I don't want to regulate anymore.
No, but this appears to be, I mean, this isn't global warming. This is real. Hey, listen, Congressman, I am so glad that you're a voice out there pushing this and educating us and making us aware. And please come back and keep us abreast of how this is progressing, because I talk about this all the time. I love talking about it with someone like you who knows what they're talking about.
Well, thank you, Steve.
All right,
I appreciate you guys doing your job.
Thank you, Congressman. Congressman Trent Franks, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. We're coming back. We're going to talk to Jared Max about Michael Sam. Don't go away.